Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see all of you here. It's exciting to see that space. We actually also started quite some years ago in the factory, so it's nice to be back. And I want to start out with what was passionate for me throughout my life. And since I was a teenager, I had one goal. Can I build something that works for me and not with me? And I had many tries along that journey. I started out with my bachelor thesis where I tried to build autonomous robots. They failed spectacularly. Then I was having another shot with the first startup I had, which was about, can we automate the process of finding other carpoolings? That failed too. But I never stopped trying because to me, there's something magical about systems that work for you. They help you. And with Parloa, we eventually found a way how we can achieve that. And it was not through robotics. It was not through matching algorithms. It was through large language models. Large language models which can reason and act. Let's look around this room. Probably what we are building. We're building search tools. We're building analytics tools. We're building checkout tools. And even the AI additions, they're all tools. But what if I'm proposing that we might be thinking about this wrong? What about instead of building a better hammer, we build the carpenter? So today I would like to invite you to stop building tools and instead start building autonomous workers. I want to go back to a moment which was really essential for me. So I was on that search, as I mentioned, for quite a while. How can we build these autonomous workers? And it was August 2022, and I was going through some papers, and I've seen InstructGPT from OpenAI. And immediately sent this message to my co-founder. Malte, this is it. This is the breakthrough that we need. Eventually, we can design systems which can handle these fuzzy conversations and really solve them, which really wasn't the reality with the product we had so far. So it was that ingredient which eventually I could see how this could unfold. It was a large language model which could interact with APIs, so it could use tools. It could get agentic. Agents could get agentic. And to be honest, this model wasn't really capable of doing that yet. But it painted a picture how this could unsolve. It gave us a vision of where we could work towards. So it was laying the path from tools to workers. And the difference in tools to workers is not sophistication. It's autonomy. Tools, they wait for instructions, they react. But workers, they solve problems. And if you want to give it a test, what you could do is ask yourself, can I walk away and it keeps working? If yes, you've got a tool. If no, you have the other way around. If yes, you have a worker. If no, you have a tool. Now, this might sound all a bit abstract, right? So we're product managers, we love people, we love stories, so let's go into the story. And we want to go forward into a time where these workers are just everywhere. We're just used to that. Because to me, that's sometimes hard to imagine. We're bound in the world we live in right now, but the future will look very different. I think it will be a fundamental shift, actually. Just think about the time when you didn't have internet, right? Really weird to imagine. Now, this is, of course, normal. The same will happen for us for that new era. So let's explain that along an example. And I would like to explain that along Jessie. So Jessie is a startup founder. She has regular board meetings in Boston. She lives in Amsterdam. And she has a digital worker, helping her along that journey. Now, Jessie comes in one morning, opens up her to-do list, and sees a new task. The AI has added that one. The board meeting now got scheduled, so we can go ahead and book that flight for your board meeting. Jesse taps on it, and the AI says, sorry, but the flight you like to take at 9 a.m., that's actually already taken, but there's still an open one at 11. It's the same cost. It should still get you there in time. Should we go ahead and book it? All right, Jesse goes on, confirms. The next morning, while Jesse is walking to the metro, the AI calls. Jesse, a spot just opened up at that 9 a.m. flight in the morning. We can switch at no cost. Shall we just go ahead and do that? Jesse confirms. Fast forward to travel day. Jesse is in her taxi to the airport. The AI calls again. Jesse, there's a problem. The airline, it has technical issues. The flight is just canceled. But before you panic, I've got you covered. I found a different one flying over Paris. It should still get you there in time. I've informed your hotel about your delay and extended your car rental, so you're all set. Also, I've got a voucher from the airline, so you can get a free meal. So just go on. Things are covered. Jesse is happy. Okay. She can just go on in her life. Takes the flight to Paris, sits in Paris, takes the croissant, which was for free, as she got that voucher. And the agent reaches out again, this time with a notification, just sharing, as it was a technical problem with your flight, we're eligible to roughly 400 euros of compensation. So just go ahead and file the paperwork for you. If it fails, there's no risk, so we can just go give it a try. Okay, Jesse confirms. Now, just 6 months before, when she didn't have that worker, this day would have been terrible. It would have been a lot of stress, missing meetings, trying to figure out a way how that can be solved. But now, for Jessie, it was easy, right? I mean, she barely had a glimpse of anxiety. It was all covered. She could continue to work and just go on with her life. And these kinds of experiences, right now, they're limited to CEOs having an outstanding assistant, but in the future, they are available for everybody. And if we take that test again, can she walk away and it keeps working? Yes, this is a worker, not a tool. Now, this was an example for customer service, moving from customer service tools to customer service workers. But the reality is, this isn't just an isolated change in that domain. This is happening across all industries. Think about CRM. Instead of having a dashboard where you can look at things, you have a worker qualifying leads, following up, helping you to do that work for you. You have analytics. Instead of having analytics dashboards, you have analytics analysts helping you dig into that data, alerting you if something is wrong right now, giving you insights and recommendations. Or you have competitive analysis, somebody who's watching out for you, really understanding that space, providing you with the relevant information in the right time, and really helping you to digest what is out there and being up to date. So these workers, they all build on these large language models. And they're ready. Yes, they can get better, and it will make it easier to build these experiences, but they're good enough. So what is missing is actually the applications on top of that. And this is what we need to build. This is what you need to build. So we are at a fundamental shift, I think, from how we interact with services, what is served for us, and I think it is to this group to help to make that switch. This isn't all science fiction. I mean, with Parloa, we're doing this every day. So just to give you a real-world example, Barmenia is one of our customers. And when we rolled out the first digital worker for them, it increased the customer satisfaction by 38%. When you deploy these agents, though, at scale, you have other challenges. Just like when you onboard a lot of new people, right? You have the entire digital workforce now to manage. So you have to do performance reviews, you have to onboard them, offboard them, you have to get them in the knowledge, how to improve them, to train them. So what we actually notice when we build these agents at scale is you don't only need to build these agents, you also need to manage them. So what we built around this was actually a product we call AMP. So it's an AI agent management platform. And while admittedly right now, many of these activities are still tools, even in our platform, we're working towards making them workers as well. So think about that. You have digital workers managing other digital workers. So this is the scale I think we need to think about right now in the age of AI. All right, let's get a bit more tactical. And we're product managers, so we know when you want to get started with something, you start out with the problem space, right? With discovery. And as we all know, we start out with a user, right? So that's the one side of that discovery I think we need to do in the age of AI. And Csaba, our CPO, likes to say, don't build what the customer asks for, but build what they actually need. So really drilling into the job to be done. And this has always been true, right? This is probably news, not news for anybody here. But I just want to double down on this because I think the importance is so much stronger now, because the solution space has changed so much that it's just more and more unlikely that the customers have thought through what is possible in the age of AI. So, and this is, I think, the job we all have to understand the core needs, really drill this one down, and then think in this age of AI what we can do to really serve the underlying need. That's the one side of the product discovery. Now, if you do products where you have a human and a digital worker, your AI, you also need, I believe, to do discovery around the AI agent. What is it they need to be successful? What is the context they need to be to have available to solve that problem? And also understanding how they actually behave, because I like what Sam Altman says around this one. So he calls it, AI agents are like an alien intelligence. They're smart, but they're different. So sometimes they can solve PhD math problems, and you think, wow, this is wild. And the other day, they can really do a simple math problem, right? This is different than a human would act. So really getting empathy, giving a deeper understanding. Empathy is maybe not the best word, but a clear understanding how they're how they're behaving, and build the product so it's not only serving the customer need, but also the AI needs. When you get both of them right, I think then you really have a deep understanding of that problem space. Let's go from problem space to solution space. And many things are changing when you build for AI workers. And I just would like to highlight 4 principles, which at least to me are the most remarkable ones, which have resonated most, I've seen in our work resonate most. And the first one is to recognize the spectrum. I was oversimplifying, right? Tools, workers. I mean, we all know this is not as simple as a binary decision. You have everything in between. And the most notable is the copilot pattern. So we might know this, for example, from coding, right? You have an agent still working for you, but that agent is acting locally. It's doing work for you, but before you roll your code out, you better review it from a human side. You better make sure this is actually safe and deployable. So before there's a bigger impact, there's a human oversight. There's a human in the loop. So the first principle, recognize the spectrum and consciously decide for the given problem in the given time where on that spectrum would be best positioned for you. Principle number 2 is design for references, not description. Let's imagine you're on an e-commerce page and you see the list of products and you really kind of like the one on the upper left, which has a blue pants. Well, good luck explaining that to the agent. So instead of making it so cumbersome to explain what do you mean, do it, for example, like Notion does, where you can explicitly reference what you mean. You can use the add symbol, right, to reference pages. You can mark text to describe what is it you mean. And when you work with this AI agents and you have a different way to make clear what you mean, you free up mind, right? You increase the velocity of this collaboration. So you're faster. But also when you made implicit references explicit, you improve on quality. So there are many advantages, I think, why I believe the principle to design for references and not descriptions are super helpful. So make the upper left item to this item. Principle number 3 is design for review, not perfection. AI does errors, and it will continue to do that. And especially when the application layer, of course, you can walk around and reduce the errors it's making, but the core job I think we need to do is to make that life easier. So acknowledge that the AI does errors. And it's more a question of how do you work with an AI that does errors? So let's look at coding again, which I think is the most advanced industries right now, and really that shift towards AI workers. Really fascinating. It's a great role model to me. And here we see an example of Cursor. And I think they've done really well in making that iteration cycle smooth. So from proposing iterations, you see the difference, you can accept or decline, and which also often happens if the AI goes off rails and you think like this is really just a path which is not helpful, you just can go back easily. So you go to an old previous chat and it's asking you, well, should I just undo all the changes until here? So while versioning and reviewing has been always important, I think the how important it is and how much of the experience this all influences has dramatically increased. So I can advocate for principle number 3, design for review, not perfection. The last principle, principle number 4, design for behavior validation, not configuration. We've so far lived in a world where when you define something and you added a rule, you could be quite certain that the system will follow that rule because it was deterministic, it is working. Now, AI agents are different. Just because you tell them to do something doesn't mean they're actually going to do it. A bit like human, but much more intense. So what actually is important is to verify what is the real behavior they are doing. So with Parloa, what we did is, and a pattern you can definitely copy, and I would recommend to copy, is you define your agent and then you simulate different scenarios. So you map out that space, how the behavior is working. Now you have hundreds or thousands of different conversations, so you also need an automated way how to evaluate them. Also another AI agent. And then you have a really deeper understanding of what's the current system, how is it right now actually behaving. And this is where you can ground then your decisions on. The additional advantage, if you get this loop right, you can do the entire loop autonomously, right? You can do automatic prompt optimization. So that's another great value, which I can recommend. But just drilling down on that principle again, design for behavior validation, not configuration. The truth is what actually arrives at the user, not what you give into the model. So these, to me at least, the most important 4 principles, they can be the base of how you look into that solution space in the future of the AI agents. All right, you all are obviously working in that field, so you all have a running product, right? You all have a good business case already. So you actually, with the proposal I'm doing, at a really tough spot, because you have a working system, and now why should you change? And when should you change? And I would advocate to do this, to transform while you're successful. At Parloa, we did this. So we had as we call it, a rule-based automation product. It was really successful. We tripled the revenue every year. It was a deterministic dialogue infrastructure. And we made that shift at the time where we were successful. And so I'm not saying this easily, just do that transformation. I'm saying this from having seen how hard it is. And this was really, really tense, right? The commercial team was holding up the pressure towards the outside, because all the other competitors, right, they were just drilling down on the old pattern. They're advancing more quickly. And so commercial team was shielding off that pressure from technology. Technology, on the other hand, we were hustling hard to get that new product up and running. So this was a really intense time, and I'm really thankful for the entire team for going through that. So I'm not saying this from an easy standpoint. I know it is hard, but the reality is, what options do you have? You can either go on, and then you will have, in the near future, very likely more success, but low risk. But in the long run, you will have much more challenges, because somebody in the industry will rethink that pattern. So while you have on the short-term success, on the long term, you will have a quite certain long-term problem. The other options, also not ideal, but I think what's more promising is you go into that transformation now. You disrupt yourself, you disrupt the industry, you are being the disruptor. And this is hard now, and it does pose a significant risk now. But you have a realistic chance of a long-term success. I'm proposing this, and actually I want to invite you to think, for your business, for your product, what will be your moment when you rethink your approach? What will be your WhatsApp moment? When you go back to your team tomorrow, I invite you to mingle, to think, what problems do they have? What is it they always need to look at? They always need to drill down. What is it that the ongoing problems they have? And then not ask the question of how can we improve our tool, but to ask the question which changed everything for me: can we build something that works for them? Once you ideate, consider to ask yourself the question, the test: can you walk away and it keeps working? I invite you because I think the age of AI is here right now. And if you don't do this, somebody else is doing out there. So it's not the question, will industries be disrupted? But the question is, will you be the one disrupting it? So I invite you to stop building better tools and start building autonomous workers. Welcome to Product Labs.